afternoon. My name is Crissy Haley, and I am a Senior Project Manager at JLL. JLL is a financial and professional services firm specializing in commercial real estate. We offer comprehensive services to owners, investors, and developers seeking increased value in their asset. Within JLL, I work on our energy and sustainability services team, and we do owner's rep project management for energy retrofit projects and LEED certification work. Today, I wanted to talk about the energy and sustainability work that we are doing at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. The main point that I want to highlight today is the importance of process and the pre-work that goes into identifying energy conservation measures. There's not always going to be a silver bullet project that solves all of your problems. And the majority of the time, especially on a campus, it takes an in-depth energy study to uncover implementable, viable energy conservation projects. So before I dive into our scope of work, I wanted to talk about the scope of the campus for those of you who aren't familiar. So this is the Lincoln Center campus. It's a 16.3 acre campus. It includes 30 indoor-outdoor performing arts facilities. The original building initiative for the campus began in 1950, and construction actually began in 1959. At the time of its design, it was considered one of the most modern and sophisticated faculties with regard to the architectural and engineering designs for these buildings. So a few of the notable buildings on campus, hopefully some of you have had a chance to check these out firsthand. David Geffen Hall, it's home of formerly Avery Fisher Hall, home of the New York Philharmonic. David Koch Theater, home of the New York City Ballet. The Metropolitan Opera House, home of the Metropolitan Opera. Alice Tully Hall, home of the Chamber Music Society. And the Juilliard School, which is home to one of the most prestigious music and art programs in the world. So the campus has iconic buildings and world-class music and art performance facilities. The thing that I noticed when I started my energy and sustainability work on the campus is that managing these buildings is an art in itself. Each of the buildings has its own engineering team, its own chief engineer, and some of these engineers have been at the building since they were constructed. So as a result, the operations of the building has almost become second nature, and the buildings are really well run, and the engineers are very knowledgeable about the building. So our challenge was working with the inherent complexities of 1960s buildings and identifying realistic energy projects, upgrades that could be made that would not impact the iconic building appearance or the building iconic operations of the buildings. So last but not least, the central mechanical plant. While it's not on the New York City tourist list, destination list, the central mechanical plant is a masterpiece in its own. Sometimes theatrical, sometimes musical. You never know what you're going to get. It depends on the day. It's a 29,000 square foot facility underneath the Lincoln Center campus. It is home to 6 chillers, 3 steam absorption chillers, 3 electric chillers. It provides the primary and secondary chilled water system for the majority of the campus, and it also receives the Con Ed distribution of steam and reduces it to low pressure and distributes it to the campus as well. So while it's not one of the top tourist sites, the central mechanical plant is an integral piece of the campus and where we spent a lot of time in our work. So in 2013, as part of a continuing effort to increase energy efficiency on campus, the Lincoln Center facilities team embarked to develop an energy and sustainability master plan for the campus. And they engaged JLL to assist them in this endeavor. And together we came up with a scope of work, and given the engineering nature of the scope of work, JLL engaged Interactive Solutions to be our engineering partner in this work. So you may notice by looking at the scope of work listed here that it is influenced by New York City's Local Law 84, which requires energy and water benchmarking, and Local Law 87, which requires energy audits and retro-commissioning. But the scope of work that we actually did on campus went significantly above and beyond the requirements for the local laws. So we started with benchmarking. Benchmarking is a logical first step, understanding where the energy is coming from, and the first thing we did is set up a portfolio manager account for the buildings, and the intention here was to have a starting point, know what we're working with, and be able to compare energy usage for the campus year over year and also for each of the buildings year over year. This proved challenging in of itself. Our first challenge was just setting up this account and finding out where the energy was from and determining the building's proportionate share of shared systems. And then on top of that, each building has its own constituents. So these constituents are in charge of the bill processing, and getting a complete picture of the bills, the utility usage for each of the buildings on campus was more of a challenge than we anticipated. So right off the bat, our first recommendation was to update the antiquated bill processing system. And while there was no direct energy benefits associated with this is critical for successful energy accounting moving forward. We also did an ASHRAE, or an energy study. We did ASHRAE Level 2 energy audits at the buildings within our scope. So we surveyed the energy flows within these buildings with the end goal of identifying energy conservation measures. And then last but not least, we did retro-commissioning. So while the energy audit and the energy study, or the energy survey, was focused on identifying capital projects, the retro-commissioning piece was testing and tuning the equipment to make sure it was performing as designed, and it was identifying low, no-cost operations and maintenance measures that could be implemented by the in-house engineering team. So this is the schedule of work. It was broken out. The schedule is broken out based on the local Law 87 due dates, but we also benchmark all of the buildings annually. So the 2014 Phase 1 results. For the buildings included in Phase 1, across the campus, we implemented low, no-cost retro-commissioning measures that yield $42,000 in annual savings. We identified 50 energy conservation measures and a dozen retro-commissioning measures that, if implemented, will reduce electricity consumption by 14%, steam consumption by 16%, and chilled water consumption by 17%. We also installed an interactive web-based tracking system that centrally collects and monitors usage, costs, and emissions. And then we also implemented a sub-metering service allowing electricity and other utilities to be accurately measured and billed on a timely basis. In addition to these results, the campus also participates in a demand response program. And in 2014, they saw over $200,000 in curtailment benefits. In 2014, the campus also completed a solar photovoltaic installation on the roof of the Rose Building. This array generates 11,000 kilowatt hours a year, which is enough to power the lights in the lobby for a year, which is a cool project. And then they also committed to purchasing their electricity from a green power provider. So in terms of next steps, we need to complete the Phase 2 energy audit and retro-commissioning scope of work, and then we're going to take the energy conservation measures identified in Phase 1 and Phase 2 and the retro-commissioning measures and develop a 5-year sustainable CapEx plan for the campus. And we'll work with each of the constituents to get these projects implemented on the campus. And then we would like to develop a measurement and verification plan so that we can track the progress on the campus and make sure that these projects are seeing the savings that we were anticipating. So I mentioned in the beginning that the importance of process, and really going through this process, going through the benchmarking, the energy audit, and the retro-commissioning gave us an in-depth knowledge of how the campus operates. And not just how the HVAC systems operate, but how financial decisions are made and how the capital approval process operates. And we were able to use this knowledge to identify implementable energy conservation projects. And this is really our goal on all of our projects that we work on, is to identify projects that have the greatest chance of being implemented, because the bottom line is energy projects that don't get implemented don't save energy. So on that note, thank you, and I look forward to your questions.